All right. So I think in the interest of time, we're going to get started here. Again, thank you for joining us this evening in New York time. My name is Mari Prower-Mutz, and I am the Associate Dean of Admission and Coordinator of Domestic and International Recruitment at Colgate. I've been with the university for about 5 years, and I predominantly work with students from the states of Connecticut and Rhode Island, as well as all of East Asia, Southeast Asia, and India. I am joined by four wonderful colleagues and students here, and over the next sort of like 40-ish minutes or so, we're going to try to give you a general sense about what it really means on campus to be involved with faith, affinity, and religious groups. So I am going to do as little talking as possible so that I can highlight the wonderful panelists that we have. I first want to start off by saying congratulations to all of you for being admitted to Colgate. That is no easy feat, and it certainly says so much about you, and we see you within our community for many reasons, and we want you to be able to envision yourself within our community as well. And so our goal is to allow you to get a better sense of that. So again, congratulations. If I don't say it again, I'll probably continue saying it, but I really offer my warmest congratulations. So I'm going to have our students introduce themselves, and then I'll hand it over to Barry. Peyton, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Peyton. I'm a junior here at Colgate. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a marine freshwater science major. It's a concentration in the natural sciences. It's a very long title for it's just marine science, basically, and a sociology minor. I work in admissions. I'm an admissions ambassador, so I'm there a lot and I really like it there. I also work for our Shaw Wellness Center as a bystander intervention facilitator. I help, I'm on the squash team here. I write for the school newspaper, and I do attend church sometimes. So it's a really, really fun environment here. So when I saw this was one of the panels being offered, I was like, yeah, of course I'll sign up because it is such a great environment here at Colgate.
Awesome, thanks. And Corinna, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Corinna. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. I'm double majoring in history and music. On campus, I'm a big part of the Colgate Jewish Union. I also work as the interfaith intern for the Office of the Chaplain, so I help plan events between the different religious groups on campus. And I also play in the orchestra.
Great. And last but not least, Lauren.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I am a senior. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I am double majoring in neuroscience and English. I am a part of Colgate Christian Fellowship and then also University Church on campus. And outside of those things, I also do a lot of dance groups on campus, and I'm involved in SORT, which is a group for women of color. So really excited to kind of share my experience with you all.
Awesome. And now I'm going to hand it over to Barry. So Barry's going to do a general overview of who he is and why he's here, and an overview of what sort of religious life looks like on campus. And then we're going to kind of kick it off to the panelists. At any point, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. They can be general, they can be to specific students, but please feel free to use that function throughout the next 40 minutes. Barry.
Hi, I'm Barry Barron. Let me see. I went to Cornell University and majored in history and graduated in 1978, long before anybody else on this group was even alive. And since then I have done many things, but currently I serve in the position which has a rather long and ponderous title, University Chaplain and Campus Rabbi. And in my capacity as University Chaplain, I oversee the Office of the Chaplains. The Office of the Chaplains has an office manager, 3 full-time, 12-month-a-year chaplains, 1 Protestant, 1 Catholic, and 1 Jewish. And we have our Muslim chaplain is part-time during the school year, although his time on campus is expanding next year. We collectively advise and oversee 12 different student religious groups on campus. All student religious groups on campus are advised by our office. We are one of a few schools in the United States that has what Colgate has, which is that all of the chaplains are directly employed by the university. And what that means to students is 2 things. 1, they have a guarantee we're always around. and will be for the foreseeable future because none of us plans on leaving anytime soon. And two, it means that we have a lot of access to people when we need to within the university. And so that works well for us, for students, for faculty, staff, for everybody. So in my rabbi capacity, I oversee Jewish activities on campus. I'm advisor to the Colgate Jewish Union, which is a student group. And also I'm the rabbi to faculty, staff, some community members. And my big thing this week, frankly, is Passover starts tomorrow night. And on our campus, that's a pretty big operation, actually. So, so that's that. I know all of the students here. Well, two of the students here I knew because I sort of got them to be here. So that's that. I should say one more thing and then turn this over. The other thing that students or parents might need to know or want to know is that our office, it's not only that the university pays for us, but they pay for much of the programming we do, and they pay for the maintenance on our buildings. And that leaves us very free to focus our attention on, as it were, customer service for students, faculty, and staff. We aren't detained unduly by having to figure out where money is coming from. So I think I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. That was a very great overview of sort of what we see on campus. So I kind of want to pose this question similarly to kind of what Barry just talked about, but to the students that are here, and Barry, feel free to jump in at the end too. But how would you describe both religious and spiritual life on campus, knowing that not all identify with a religion and more so spirituality, but how would you kind of describe the religious and spiritual life on campus here? Karina, I'm going to pick on you. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I guess the first thing, I guess, to understand about religious life on campus, and probably what the best thing about religious life on campus is that everything is open to everybody, whether you identify with a faith or not. If you just want to have a welcoming environment to go through to for like an hour or two, everyone's completely welcome. You can have little to no knowledge of the religious group that of this service that you're attending, and people will always be welcoming. A lot of people like to bring their friends who aren't part of the religious group, and just have someone to, I guess, accompany them to services and enjoy a nice meal afterwards. So it's definitely just a place where you can experiment and just meet new people, whether you're religious or not. And I think that's one of the important things about college to understand, is that this is a time when you're kind of on your own, without your parents, without the traditions that you were raised with right in front of you. So Colgate has an environment that is really conducive to that and supports you no matter where you are on your religious journey.
That's great. Peyton, you want to go next, and I'll head over to Lauren?
Yeah, I was just kind of going off that. Like, I was never very religious growing up, and then when I got to Colgate, my friends were going to the Catholic masses, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'll come along. Being raised in a very more sometimes when I was really little, going to a very strict cathedral, and here is just such a welcoming environment. It was really fun. It's funny. The people who were running it were really fun, and I had really very nice insights. It was just a really great place to kind of build more community with not a lot of pressure, and it was very nice. And the programming that goes on here is really great. I know a lot about or I see a lot of the events. It's very visible on campus in terms of I'll be oh, that looks cool. The Jewish Center had SPCA events where the little kittens came in. I was it's so much fun. It just didn't have to be there's not really a lot of pressure or anything. So coming from someone who's not super involved directly in the community, it's such a nice environment on campus, and I think it just is a great place to build community in general.
Yeah, I would just echo what Corinne and Peyton would have said. I would definitely agree that all of the religious groups are very open to anyone who's looking to learn more or just participate in some way. That's something that I've really benefited from. I think also the beauty of all of the groups on campus is that so many people who join these groups come from different backgrounds and different experience levels. And so even within your group, you can learn about the different ways that people think about their religion or their spirituality. And I think that's a great way to just like learn and develop your own further. So that's something I found, that even if you are within the same religious tradition, you can still learn from other people. So overall, it's been a really like positive and informative experience for me.
It's great. And Barry, I'm going to pose this one to you. How do you think that you and other religious leaders on campus kind of engage students? I know you talked a little bit about some of the student organizations you work with, but we also have some leaders here within the community. So what are other ways that students kind of engage with you?
So I'll hit that in 1 second, because I just want to say one of our unique features at Colgate, or almost unique, is we are intentionally, we are, all of us chaplains, students involved are involved and enthusiastic and like our own religious traditions, but we are in many ways intentionally interfaith in the way we do things, so that later in April, the student groups are organizing an interfaith formal, for example. I don't know too many schools where that actually happens. We have very close relationships between our communities, and with one of our groups is it's called the Secular Association of Skeptical Students. So we have those people involved as well. So I mean, it kind of coheres. Our goal is to enable, to not make people choose either us or Colgate, but to be able to integrate, you know, I'm Jewish and part of Colgate, I'm part of Colgate and I'm Catholic, etc. So that works. Now, back to your question. Remind me what it was.
Yeah, just how you and some of the other leaders on campus engage with students. And that was actually a very good example of ways that you do. But if there are any others that...
Sure. We have a couple of things that we do. One is that we run a Friday night program called The Well, which is basically games and refreshments every Friday night. It's designed to provide, it's a little bit quieter than some other places, and there's no alcohol, so that engages a certain population that we don't actually see at anything else, but they do come to that. We had an interfaith week back in February with 21 different events. And one of those events was we went to the men's basketball game, and handed out t-shirts to people. So we engage that way. My Protestant colleague, Corey McPherson, has office hours down in the athletics center to provide counseling down there to people who want it. I teach in Jewish studies, one course in the spring, so I have interaction with students there that I may not have in other ways. And then there's the old standby, go have lunch in Frank and find out how many people you know. So we all of those ways and some more. I mean, we're very approachable. People say, hello. Tour groups will pass by and somebody say, oh, there's the rabbi. You know, so it's a really nice feeling on our campus that we have that. So yeah. And the other thing about us that's really important to know for the chaplains is, under New York State law, anything communicated to us is completely confidential. Without somebody's permission, we can't even tell your parents or healthcare providers or anybody. So, except maybe if you told us you murdered somebody, that's maybe an exception to that. But we don't have it. I'm in my 4th year at Colgate, haven't run into that one yet. So I don't see it as a problem.
Yeah, Corinna, please.
Sorry, I should mention that I guess the reason why I think Colgate's chaplain's office is so welcoming, and why you're able to have a really interfaith community, is because all of the chaplain's offices are located in the basement of the chapel. And so that means you get to know not only the chaplain from your faith, but also the other chaplains from other traditions. And you really just get to learn a lot, get to know different people in kind of a setting that's outside of the classroom. And it's just the chapel basement is a place that a lot of students like to hang out, whether they're religious or not. They have a kitchen if you want to do some cooking. And they also store a lot of leftover food there from events. So if you ever just want to grab, a slice of pizza and do some homework, it's a great environment to meet people and just to learn about the traditions around you.
That's great. Thank you for adding that in. I do think one thing that obviously college students love is food, but especially when you're able to engage in conversation around important topics and share a meal with people who you share values with, or who at least you are willing to learn from. And that doesn't always have to be just within the Colgate community. And so I think that's a great transition into just kind of talking about how you might engage with within the Hamilton community and the regional community. I know we talked a little bit about that, but if any of you engage with the local Hamilton community in the religious or spiritual sense, it'd be great to just hear a little bit about how you do so.
I know that the chaplain's office has done some, I guess, like evening walks up in our cross-country trails, and because we have such a beautiful campus, they definitely help students get out into nature and do things like that. I think CCF, the Colgate Christian Fellowship, has done like marshmallow roasting up there, so definitely just taking advantage of the nature around us. And I know that there are a few other churches and communities in town that sometimes we try to do like community service with, like diaper drives, food drives around holidays.
Payne, go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of echoing off that. It's definitely like a very much like a welcoming environment. And like for instance, at Ash Wednesday, and I'm sure last year's Easter Mass, I'm sure this year's too, like it's very much like a mix of Colgate students and also people from the town. So it's like a huge mix of people. So it's not just like only Colgate students in like those bigger events. And then I know that also for I think just like in general for like there's a lot of outreach that goes on. So like I know around Christmas time there was like a kind of almost like a list of things you could get for people in the area, and then basically also toys, like lists of toys. And what we did is like you could go and get them and you give them, but you don't wrap them, and then the parents can go and like pick out and like shop and then wrap them for themselves. So it's like a really fun event. So, and that's like a smaller thing, but just in general, like there's tons of stuff that goes on, I think, like in all the faiths that at Colgate, that's a lot of outreach.
Yeah, I'll also add, I know for University Church and Colgate Christian Fellowship, we place a lot of emphasis on bringing in speakers from the community. And so that's another way that we are able to interact with people. And I also, I'm pretty sure this Friday, for Good Friday, there's a service in town at one of the churches that all Colgate students are involved in or invited to, and also just people from town who are interested in coming as well. So there's definitely a lot of interaction.
And I would say, I would add to that we do have some students who either because it's more convenient or it's more their flavor than we precisely offer, sometimes do go to the churches downtown. As chaplains, we have a very close relationship with the clergy in town. We have lunch with them once a month, and we talk about a lot of things, and we're good friends. So tomorrow night, Father Hage, who's the Catholic priest in town, is coming to the Seder at Colgate just because he's never been to one before. So he's done that, and he has invited me to speak at Mass when we were doing kind of Jewish Catholic exchange weekend, affectionately known as Juman weekend. But he had invited me to speak at Mass, and that was nice. And so we actually have quite a bit. And what's useful about that, besides that, for some of these people, we actually contract with them to do things on campus we can't, like say Mass. But besides that is we then have, between us and them, and talking about students, faculty, staff, community, we have a sort of more rounded picture of everything that's going on. And that's just useful all the way around.
That's great. And some of you guys touched on this a little bit, but maybe just if everyone wants to go through and say one or two of your favorite events that are put on campus through religious and spiritual life. That'd be great to just kind of get a sense of what's going on. I know that you guys already said a whole bunch of them, so I'm going to make you pull even more out of them. But if anyone wants to start, just go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I'll start just because I'm really excited for the one coming up. Is the Easter Mass. Then Colgate also has you can sign up for an Easter dinner. I mean, I call it dinner, it's like at 3 p.m. But and it's really fun. Like anyone can sign up, and it's at the Colgate Inn. So it's like a free meal at Colgate Inn, and it's just like really fun and way. So I'm very excited for that. I had it last year, and it was really yummy. So I'm very excited for that again this year.
I'll add, I think one of the big events that I'm always excited about is Gospel Fest. We actually do have a gospel choir on campus. And so it was on pause a bit because of COVID the last couple of years. This year we brought it back in February. We have a visiting choir come and they sing gospel music, and the choir on campus can get involved in that. And so that's something that's really fun, whether you're a Christian or you listen to gospel music or not. It's a really great event. So that's one of the ones I'm always excited about.
I really like the Colgate Jewish Union's bagel brunches. This is something we do about once or twice a month, where students can come in the morning and have free flour and salt bagels that are from the local bakery. And there's bagels and lox and juice, coffee, and it's just a time like in the morning to get together and talk to the rabbi, talk to other students. Everyone's welcome. I often bring my roommates, and it's just a good time to start your Sunday morning.
So I would add to that that I have personally enjoyed the iftars during Ramadan, those last couple weeks and continuing. And one of the big events a little later in the spring is the Hindu celebration Holi, which comes on a Saturday, and basically everybody splashes colored dye around over themselves and over everything else, and it's a really good time. I always look forward to the holiday of Passover that's coming up, because I think in many ways it's like the best, although it other ways takes the most work. But these things are good. And the other thing I would say, the bagel brunch I enjoy the most is actually the parents' weekend brunch, because on the parents' weekend brunch, we bring in an omelet chef also. And so it is really nice, and tons of people come and line up and hang out, and president comes when he's available, and that's just a really good time as well.
So Barry, this one is most specifically for you to answer, but just in thinking about, we talk a lot about the third century plan and where Colgate's been and where it's kind of going. And as part of our third century plan, we also have a DE&I plan. So how would you say that the new DE&I plan sort of impacts the work that's being done for you and for students that you work closely with, and just sort of the religious and spiritual community at Colgate?
I'm going to say, look at the screen, and you have one of the best advertisements for diversity that I can think of. Just saying, but it impacts us in shorter term ways and longer term ways. So what the DEI plan does vis-a-vis us is it focuses attention on the fact that our religious community is continually diversifying. So our Muslim community is bigger than it used to be. Our Hindu community is bigger than it used to be. We now have a very small Sikh and Jain community starting up, because these are, if you go to India and Pakistan, these are the religions that show up. So we have that. We are paying more closer attention to how we create more of the Black church experience for students who come from that or those traditions. But it also affects us in other interesting ways. So one of the longer range projects, I'm saying that because I don't want to commit the president to a timeline here. One of the longer range projects is going to be to build an expanded Jewish center, which will also have a multi-faith component to accommodate the needs of our other growing religious groups. Because our chapel is very imposing on the top, because it seats 900 and it's big, it's got a nice fancy organ and everything else. But the bottom wasn't designed for all the groups that we serve now. That just wasn't Colgate's history at the time they were building the thing. And so we have other space needs that will need to be accommodated. And that's very much a third century plan thing, because it goes together with campus development and beautification and things like that. But it will facilitate our continually providing for new groups as they come along. The other piece of it is when I advise senior administration that we need this or we need that. So when I say, okay, the Hindu population is growing, and here's the Muslim population, and here's the Hindu population, it's likely that we're going to need more servicing for the Hindu population. Say, how do you know? I said, I know because I look at the data. And so lo and behold, we just had the first request from the Hindu students to ask us to bring in a Hindu priest once a month next year, which we will do. And then if we think we need more, we'll get it. We'll go to the administration and we'll say, hey, give us the money to do this. And so basically, and we're really actually very good friends with the DEI people. And one of the things I should have mentioned before is on Wednesday mornings, we have morning reflections. And morning reflections are each week, somebody speaks and does whatever they want in terms of music and speaking or other meditations, whatever they want to do for 15 minutes from 8:45 to 9, followed by breakfast. I mention that because we've had in the past year, both the vice president for DEI is coming, and I forget what his title is right now, but the person who works with her on sort of education and leadership training activities was a speaker earlier this year. And we also use that forum to highlight diversity on campus so that we have a really good mix in a given year of all kinds of religious and non-religious people, racial groups, ethnic groups, however people identify. And so basically, we work into the diversity space through our other work. And it seems to kind of be all right. So that's what we do.
Yeah, and I think, Barry, that was a really good example of Colgate is a place that has a lot of resources to be able to do exactly what Barry is saying, where there is a student need. The university does its best to cater to those student needs in a very timely manner. And I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of students feel so welcomed in a space like Colgate, because there is a lot of positive change that happens and a lot of action. It's not that we just say that we do it. The administration is incredible about actually making things happen and making sure that students and staff and faculty have the resources needed to have a positive operational space to be around. So we did have, yeah, go ahead, Barry.
I just should add to this. We also have a president, and this is unlike many, many, many schools that people may be considering or thinking about. We have a president who is personally committed to the work of our office and regularly takes money from his funds to pay for things that are needed, big things and small things. And it is a tremendous, we have, and I have reasons to say this, we have probably one of the best chaplains offices and religious programs set up in the United States. And part of the reason we have that is because we have us, but we also have a president who is committed to what we do. And that is a tremendous gift.
Absolutely. So we had a question come in through the Q&A, and the question is, do students typically attend church at Colgate, or do some visit churches in the town of Hamilton? We answered that a little bit earlier, but if anybody wants to provide a little bit more context about what that looks like.
I guess I can just briefly mention, I think it honestly just depends on the person. I know the university church services that happen on campus are at 6 p.m. on Sunday nights. And for some people, that may not be the best time. So a lot of people do end up going to one of the churches in town that may have an earlier morning service. But I think it honestly depends on timing and also just kind of what kind of service you grew up with and whether you want to continue that kind of tradition at somewhere else or if you want to try the university church service here. So I don't know if I can necessarily say if there's like a predominance of which one people lean to, but both of the options are there. So
I almost think that adds even more context because it shows that what we have on campus is like pretty abundant and gives students the opportunities to be able to engage in religious ways on campus without having to leave campus. And that option is there if they want to.
And actually, we know that most of our active students in every religious group, most of them attend services on campus. I mean, we've actually been paying attention to this for a while, so I can say that.
So I have one more question for the panelists, but if anyone has any additional questions, we're going to wrap up here in the next few minutes. So I want to make sure that we get to any questions that you have lingering. But the last question that I want to ask all of our panelists is, and this is very broad, so feel free to take it in whatever way you want. What is your favorite thing about sort of religious and spiritual life on Colgate's campus, aside from it being a very welcoming place for all who identify regardless of their religion? I know that's a loaded question, so I will let you guys ponder that, but whoever is ready, go ahead and jump in.
I think what I like about it is that the religious life on campus here really fits in with what our liberal arts education is about. It's all about being open-minded, about talking to, people from different backgrounds and really just like being open to learning. And so, like, we talk about, the environment being very welcoming, but it really is, and it's because we have so many students that are curious, but also that are just very articulate and very passionate about who they are, and they want to share like who they are with other people. And so no matter what context you're in, whether you're at church or whether you're just in a dorm room, there's always people that are open to talking about who they are and people who are just like very naturally curious and passionate about religious life. And so I think if, whether you choose to go to services on a regular basis or not, you're always going to have kind of that spirituality lingering in the air and just inspiring you to, I guess, reflect on your own or at services.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's so tempting to just be like, it's so welcoming as well, like in general, because I'm like, oh, it really, like, it truly is. And I think like for me, not being like the most, well, I was very religious when I was little, and then like not being really religious throughout all of high school or middle school, and like coming to college, did not think this was going to be like the place where like my faith would have been reignited. But it was, and not because people are like, you must come to these things or you like have to do this. It's just because people are like, oh, this is what I do sometimes, and I like to go here, and like there's like some really cool programming. And so I was like, oh, I'll be interested. Like I was a little interested in it. And like what happened was I just like my faith was much more reignited by Colgate. And people here again are just kind of echoing that, just so open about who they are and in such a non-judgmental way. which I think is just something super special.
I think for me, I just think that on the most basic level, I feel like I've met so many people through religious groups. I know a lot of people do like go to services initially with their friends. But for me, I went to one of the information sessions about the offerings of the Office of the Chaplains during orientation, my very first year here. And through that, I met someone who was interested in the same group. And we found out we were going to audition for the same dance group too. And so now she's still to this day like one of my best friends. So I think it was just a great opportunity to meet people and continue to meet new people. I'm a senior now and I still meet new people through the Office of the Chaplains that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. So it's just a great way to continue to grow your community and your network.
So there are two things that I think I could add usefully to this. One is that on our email lists, we have about half of the student body. So from this, we conclude that Colgate Religious Life is easy to access and equally easy to ignore. But what is true is that the university, in many ways, foregrounds the life of the spirit in addition to the life of the intellect. And that has a lot to do with Colgate's history and a lot to do with the people that are around. And so, for example, professor from MIT who was getting an honorary degree at commencement last year said to me, "You guys pray a lot. I like that." And what she meant was, we have invocations. If there is a convocation or commencement, we have an invocation and a benediction on every one of those. It's one prayer is usually done by me and one by a colleague from the office. The chapel, people notice it because it was built to be prominent, and that kind of has some kind of message in it too. The university motto, "For God and for Truth," suggests that as we develop our intellects, we're developing our spirits, and as we develop our spirits, we develop our intellects. And that kind of attitude is really useful in life. It lets us get beyond a lot of what look like big problems or in fact small problems at the moment. And so my observation is that our students who come are engaged people, they're bright people, they do a lot of other things on campus that they're good at, they're studious, they're athletic. There are all kinds of things that really make Colgate the very special place that it is. For those of us who worked here for a while, I think we can honestly say that it is a wonderful place to be an undergraduate, partly because everybody cares about everybody.
Great, very well said. I could not have done it better myself. So I, again, want to really thank our panelists for joining us this evening. I'm going to leave my contact information in the chat, and if any of our panelists want to, they are welcome to as well, but you can also reach out to me, and I would be happy to direct any of your questions to any of our panelists' way. This is just the first in our three-part series of Cultures and Identities at Colgate, so I encourage you to check out our other webinars in the upcoming weeks. We also have other Colgate classroom sessions and a series of other webinars coming up over the next 3 weeks as you continue to make your decision, or if you've already made your decision, continue to learn more about the Colgate community. So again, I want to offer my warmest congratulations to all of you, and thank our panelists for taking time out of their busy weeks to spend this evening with us and to share their stories about how they engage within the Colgate community. So thank you all so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.